Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode 5. My name is Greg, and I represent the Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan.
And I'm Josh. I'm the Yugi newbie.
And today we're covering Episode 5 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, the 4Kids dub in particular, The Ultimate Great Moth. There's not much plot to surmise here. In the last episode, we left Yugi and Weevil in the middle of their duel, and here we pick it up and get to the end of it. Josh, why don't you talk about what happens in the beginning of this episode?
So we start off, and Weevil's definitely looking a bit distressed because Yugi just made a big move that took away a lot of his life points and a lot of his monsters. So Yugi's friends are all happy. They're like, yeah, you did it. And the first big development is that Mai, who is one of the only adults, right, who's like playing in the tournament.
It felt like they were playing her as like she's one of the few adults in this tournament, the way that they were portraying her in episode 3, where like she didn't want to sleep in the commoner section and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter too much, but she shows up, and then it's kind of strange and kind of hilarious how much Taya just immediately starts hating on Mai.
Well, you know what trope they're doing, right?
Yeah, of course. Like, she's jealous.
Because she's another woman.
Yeah, she's another woman. Yeah, I want to be the only woman.
In the manga, they can play up the romantic chemistry between Yugi and Taya more, but here their relationship's pretty sterile. So
yeah, no, I didn't even think of that at all. Like,
it doesn't play like anything. It's not even that it doesn't play well; it just doesn't play.
It just doesn't. Yeah,
there is no romance between them in this anime. I mean, in the manga, it's still pretty light. It's more like you can tell Yugi has a crush on her, and she's like trying to figure out, is this a little brother or is this like an actual romantic interest?
Yeah, it's just kind of dumb because Joey interested. She says something, and Taya's like, "Back me up here," and they're just like, "I don't know. I guess whatever you say, Taya."
It's sort of a funny moment to me. There is this like simp mentality, right? The way that Tristan and Joey are reacting to Mai and stuff like that. Like obviously they're just trying to like agree with her to impress her or whatever.
Yeah.
There is a level-headed point there about how Yugi shouldn't get overconfident. So I find that moment kind of interesting because it turns from like simp to actual like rational logic.
Yeah. But this happens a lot throughout the episode. It's kind of funny. It just happens in the background almost of the duel as something else that have going on, I guess.
So if the episodes have had themes so far, I'd say this one is like a duelist fighting by themselves or a duelist fighting with friends. It's like, you know, Yugi obviously has his friends supporting him, and Mai and Weevil are both characters that want to just like fight on their own and stuff like that. So I think that's, you know, interesting dynamic.
And definitely, yeah, with this interaction, that's what they're building up a lot, because Mai's saying like, oh, you don't need friends, and Mai insults them in her head a lot, where she's like, you fools, like he's not gaining anything from this. You're just distracting him from the game. And she's really confident. Weevil's saying like, oh yeah, he doesn't waste his time on friends. His mind is always on the game. So definitely, like, yeah, this side thing kind of focuses more on the thematic elements of the episode, whereas the duel kind of just handles the fun and the theatrics of it all.
So to get back into the duel some more, Yugi needs to get over Weevil's trap card, of course. And I love how in this part of the anime, at least the early episodes, they treat trap cards as something that have to activate in a mandatory. And, you know, I mean, if that's what they're presenting, that's what they're presenting. If trap card activation is mandatory when the conditions are met, I guess that's fine. It's just funny because, like, in real Yu-Gi-Oh!, you basically get to choose when your trap cards activate. Like, Yugi didn't have to activate Mirror Force in the last episode unless he wanted to and stuff like that. But here it's like, oh, you have to activate that card, Weevil. I guess to a certain extent, he kind of needed to, but, like, they play it as if, like, he had no control over the card's activation. But he definitely didn't want his Larva Moth to be destroyed, because that's what he plays after all of his other monsters have been destroyed. He's played a Larva Moth, and Yugi's like, well, what are we going to do about that Larva Moth?
Yeah. So yeah, what happens, if it wasn't clear, is Yugi plays a card where he's able to retract all of the monsters currently in play, and then he's able to reshuffle his hand, and then he can just play like this really, really weak monster, Karibo. And then Yugi takes like very few life points, because if he had played like the Dark Magician or something, like Yugi would have just lost.
For whatever reason, that trap card not only destroys your monsters, but you lose life points equal to that monster's attack points because he lost 300. Karibo has 300. That's how I'm able to figure that out.
So it's a smart play, but the real focus of this episode is on the Great Moth, the ultimate Great Moth that's slowly building. So at the start of this, Weevil plays this tiny little like grub thing, and then he stacks on this cocoon, which will start building the ultimate Great Moth, and has like a ton of defense, like 2,500 defense or something, and will eventually grow into this really, really powerful monster that will presumably just destroy anything that Yugi has. And
although what I love is that he puts the cocoon in attack mode on his board, so really it should have 0. But anyways, I know it's just animation, just not matching up with the game rules, but whatever.
That's fair. I mean,
nitpicking, totally nitpicking. It's just funny.
No, that's interesting. I obviously didn't notice that, but presumably, like, he would all obviously play it in defense mode. Like, he's not that stupid.
So I would say that's a nitpick, but this is bordering on a Yu-Gi-Oh moment. It's not
Uh-oh.
quite there because it doesn't really like hurt character or anything. I mean, it makes Yu-Gi look pretty stupid, but this still bothers me. I think that this is like bordering on a real complaint and bordering on nitpicking and stuff like that. But when Yugi summons his Gaia the Fierce Knight to attack the cocoon, his monster has 2,300 attack points, and then the cocoon has 2,600 defense points, and you need higher attack points over the defense points in order to destroy the monster. And yet he attacks anyways and loses 300 life points because if you attack a monster with greater defense, you lose the difference between the defense points and the attack points. I just don't know why they have to do things like this. Because for one, they're not playing Yugi as someone who's supposed to be incompetent. This isn't a protagonist who's like Ash, who's still learning the basics of like the game and stuff like that and the combat and the anime. This is a guy who's supposed to know the game pretty well at this point, and like he can't even do simple greater than or less than values and stuff like that. It bothers me. It's not the worst, but it's just like, why do they have to shove in stupid things like this?
Yeah, I would agree that they threw this in here to show how strong it is, and it is strategically a really dumb move. If I'm thinking about it, the only thing I can expect is like a lot of times there are weird like qualifiers or like extra things that could maybe give him more strength. Like it's possible because Gaia the Fierce Knight, he's using like a jousting thing. So it's like this really sharp stick thing maybe that has like an extra bonus that would have worked. So like I don't entirely blame him, but I agree, like it's for the audience.
What you're suggesting, I would not be shocked if that happened. Oh, because he's using a jousting saber, then that means that he can penetrate your moth's cocoon more efficiently. But it's like, I don't think they're playing it that way. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's that it's just supposed to show, oh my God, it's too strong. But they play this as if like the characters themselves can't see the added defense points and stuff like that. It's like, why would they do that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really dumb.
Again, the problem is, and this isn't the creator Kazuki Takahashi's fault or anything, it's just that when he wrote this manga, he was just coming up with creative things on the spot and trying to like justify it with like numbers in the game and stuff like that. But when you're adapting the anime and you have time to think about this stuff, it's like you could change that to make it more reasonable. Again, I'm supporting that the show puts excitement over trying to make it super strategy based. Either could work. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I wish that they could pick a side because they put so much emphasis on number values and stuff like that. It just looks ridiculous when Yugi can't figure out which is a higher number, 2,300 or 2,600.
Yeah, no, of course. I honestly, when I was watching this, I was a bit confused. Like, I thought that he did it multiple times to try. And I was like, wait, did he actually?
He threatened to do that. It drove me nuts. He was like, man, if I keep doing this, I'm going to keep losing life. Yeah, but yes,
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah, it's like you lost
What are
life
you
points.
talking about? It's not going to get better.
Yeah.
You got to do something else.
No, it's kind of dumb. There's definitely some weird kind of developments here because most of the episode is honestly just Weevil kind of bragging, saying like, hey, you're not going to be able to do anything. Like, there's nothing you can do. And the next thing Yugi actually does is he plays this monster face down. It's the rat soldier guy, and he just plays it in defense mode. Like, oh, maybe I should prepare a defense in case he actually wins, or not wins, in case like the Great Moth grows all the way. But like this rat thing has like 1,300 max defense, and like this Great Moth is just literally going to take out the entirety of his HP, even if he like plays this in defense. So I don't understand.
Well, he won't lose life points as long as the monster's in defense mode, but I know what you mean.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And yeah, no, remember, when a monster's in defense mode and it dies, you don't lose the difference.
You don't lose any life points. Okay, that makes
That's the
sense.
point.
Then that does make sense, actually, that he did that.
No, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, I'm
And
fine with that.
So can you just play like an extremely weak monster in defense mode?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's kind of...
Just to reel back a little bit, when we were talking about the first episode with him drawing all the Exodia pieces, I'm still shocked to this day he didn't throw out an arm of Exodia in defense mode just because, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same amount of damage.
But if someone attacked him and then got rid of that arm, then he wouldn't have been able to build Exodia, right?
Oh, that's my point, yeah. It's totally convenient. But the fact that he didn't know what those arms were, legs were,
Yeah.
it's just saying, like,
what is this?
I'm shocked. It's just funny that, okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to keep harping on it. It's just funny.
No, I agree.
Anyways, so we do get back to the theme of the episode, though. I think this works pretty well. The fact that like Yugi actually listening to the support of his friends does, I don't know what you call this in screenwriting, but it's when someone says something that's almost completely irrelevant and then they realize the answer to the situation. But I think more of the idea is just listening to his friends' support and like actually caring about them inspires him to come up with the strategy that's going to help him win and stuff like that. So I think that's working pretty effectively. Because basically what happens is that Joey says, Yugi, you can't give up. You got to get fired up. And then Yugi realizes, oh, I'll use a monster with fire and burn the forest down. It's funny. In the manga, he says, Yugi, you'll win even if you have to burn the whole forest down. So it's a little less subtle in that.
Yeah, that's a little less subtle. No, I like the way this was.
He didn't mean it literally. It's just what he was saying. It works the same, but it's just funny how like overt that is. So Yugi summons his monster, the Curse of Dragon, and he uses the Burning Land magic card, right?
Yeah, he uses a magic card to burn. Yeah.
In combination with his Curse of Dragon to burn down the forest, stuff like that, so the field power bonus disappears. It's funny too, because like I'm pretty sure it was the last episode, right, where Tristan said, "Yeah, but it's not like that power bonus can be turned off." It's like, is that supposed to be foreshadowing, or is that just four kids just writing random dialogue? It's just funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, probably just random dialogue, but
hey, look, I was right about turning it off.
I'm sure. Yeah, I thought it was a cool play to be able to destroy the forest.
I've been criticizing the show so far as not being a proponent or promoting strategy, but they're trying to do that with things like this. It's just the problem is there's just no real concrete rules to anything. It's like you're basically just directing real life creatures into battle. I guess that's fine, but there's no consistency and there's no way we can predict along with Yu-Gi-Oh what's going to happen. And obviously you don't want it to be predictable, but you want it to be something. If it's a game anime, you might want to have it be something, the rules be like something that you can really engage with and understand. And here it just seems like there's really no rules. It's just whatever Takahashi wanted to come up with that day for a battle.
Yeah, no, I agree. Something also I did want to point out is honestly a lot more noticeable. Something we mentioned with last episode was the animation quality dipping a little bit. I think that's very noticeable in this episode.
The one shot that stood out to me for so long is the one when Taya says her wonderful monologue to Maya about like, "I won't be quiet, you." What does she say? Like, "You bleach blonde know-it-all windbag," or whatever.
Know-it-all, yeah, like yeah.
That's just the look on her face. It's just like that shot doesn't look finished.
Is it the one where she's like looking really anime, like really big mouth, like kind of like?
No, she looks under animated in that shot. It's really weird. I guess that'll have to be the thumbnail for this episode.
Yeah.
What moment stood out to you?
Just a lot of like the shots of Yugi are somewhat static, and then also the shots of the friends, like their movements very jolty. Like it's showing Taya, Joey, and Tristan, and then like maybe Joey saying something and just his mouth is moving. Like there's not a lot of dynamic shots with them. I think again Weevil is still getting very high quality shots, but it's very noticeable. Yeah, I look at this one shot right now where Tristan's just sitting there with his mouth completely open, not moving. It looks really awful. Yeah, he's sitting there for like 5 whole seconds, just not moving. It's hilarious. And then also another funny moment is that they're cheering him on, and then Mai is making fun of them, saying like, "Hey, like that's really dumb. Like you think he's actually gonna get any help from that?" And then Yugi flashes them a thumbs up, and they're like, "Whoa!" Like,
yeah, it's fine.
I thought that was hilarious.
It's super corny. It's great that you're laughing at it, but I think that works. So anyways, after Yugi destroys the forest and he gets rid of the field power bonus for insect cards, he's able to destroy the Cocoon of Evolution, which is only sitting at 2,000 defense points now. Thank God 2,300 attack of his guy, the Fierce Knight, is bigger than 2,000 because, Yugi doesn't know that charging in. He doesn't know how to compare point values at all. So he beats it one turn before it would have hatched and become the perfectly ultimate Great Moth, but instead the Great Moth emerges. So Josh, you want to kind of explain that?
Yeah, so the Great Moth appears, and I don't really know what to explain about it besides that it's just like a really strong enemy. I guess it has 2,600 attack and 2,011, so like that's already like I don't know if we've seen any cards better than that besides I guess the Blue Eyes White Dragon. So it's like a very very formidable enemy still. I don't know what the perfectly ultimate Great Moth would have been if it was like 3,000 or
3,500.
35. Wow. Okay, so
again, this early in the anime would it have been that high? I don't know, but like when we do see it eventually in the actual card in real life, it's 3,500.
Dang.
Sorry, I shouldn't have spoiled that for you. My bad.
No, it's all good.
So I'm going to talk about real Yu-Gi-Oh for a little bit, real life Yu-Gi-Oh just for a minute here, because it's I think you'll find this somewhat entertaining. The Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth is kind of a meme in the Yu-Gi-Oh community.
Really?
Because it is such an inconvenient card to use. No one would ever use this card seriously in a tournament. It's not worth it to sit on the Cocoon of Evolution and try to protect it for 5 turns. You'd be wasting so much time, so much of your card resources and stuff like that, trying to protect this stupid Cocoon for 5 full turns. Even getting the Great Moth for 4 turns, it's like neither option's worth it. But there are people who will create Yu-Gi-Oh videos of playing online, trying to pull it off legitimately to get that card out there. Just because it's a joke to try to summon it, but no one would ever summon it seriously.
Yeah.
It's so inconvenient. It's such a dumb card. You're wasting 5 turns to get a 3,500 beat stick that can get killed by any standard destroy a monster on the field magic card. Nothing protects it.
I see.
It is such a pointless and weak card, but it is kind of hilarious. Go to YouTube and look up trying to summon Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, and you'll just get tons of videos of people doing it as a joke.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's kind of hilarious.
So yeah, this big boss monster is one of the worst cards in the actual game.
Because they definitely play it up here and effectively that it's like this really powerful thing that you can't get rid of. Because I think at this point, like, we're still very much on like using monster cards. We don't really use a lot of magic or trap cards or any at this point, which seems like it would, like, anytime someone's used a trap card or a magic card, it seems so effective. So I never understand why you don't just like do that a lot more. But I mean, I don't understand the meta, and I want to kind of see how the meta develops, at least within the show.
What meta?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm going to say.
So yeah, after the Great Moth is summoned, he wipes out Beaver Warrior in defense mode, and then does Yugi pretty much just cheat?
I mean, he uses a card to combine the two, right?
Yeah, so I watched this a few times. I think in the manga they get away with this a little more, but like basically how I see this happening, and kind of everyone else I think sees this the same way. What happens is that Weevil's attacking, it's his turn, and then Yugi just plays a spell card from his hand, which should be a big no-no, but he just does it. Again, there's no rules, so there's no real reason he shouldn't be able to do this because there's no rules in this anime version of the game, but like it just looks ridiculous the fact that Weevil says, I'm going to attack, and then Yugi says, not if I can help it, and then he just plays a spell card from his hand on Weevil's turn. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I didn't really catch that, but yeah, no, that's really dumb.
I'm surprised that to be honest, I'm kind of surprised you didn't think that was funny because like it's such a moment that screams like, "Hey, Yugi's cheating."
Yeah, I guess I'm not as great at noticing like turn order. I just like kind of, or I like don't know effectively like when you're allowed to play cards or things. Like maybe he's allowed to do that there. I wouldn't know, so I just kind of took it as it was. But that is pretty hilarious.
But yeah, so he's able to combine his Gaia the Fierce Knight and that Curse of Dragon card into Gaia the Dragon Champion.
Yep.
I've always liked this card a lot. He's a pretty cool design. I mean, he basically just you take Gaia off the horse and put him on the dragon on Curse of Dragon, so it's not actually that creative, but it's a fun card. I guess what's kind of funny here is that it's somewhat pointless. I would say, like, after the Great Moth's attack, it starts to lose attack points because the Great Moth is left poison in the air and stuff like that. This real time, like, this is also a pet peeve of mine. Again, it's not really a problem. I know it's just part of the show's aesthetic, but the fact that things can happen just because you're sitting there in real time, like the fact that the monster's just losing attack points while you're sitting there in real time, it's not like it loses 100 attack points each turn or anything like that. It's just as long as you're just standing there, you're losing attack points. It's a pet peeve of mine, but I get it. It's just the show. It's part of the aesthetic. It's fine, but it's just funny.
I thought that was weird too. Yeah, because I figured it would make a lot more sense like as a turn-based thing.
Because we could just sit there and just wait till it hits 0 and then attack.
Yeah.
So then, Josh, how does he defeat the Great Moth?
I believe he plays I forget what it's called, but it's this giant summon skull. It's a summon skull.
Well, first he plays Makiyu.
Oh, yeah, is that what it is with the rain?
Yeah, he plays Makiyu, the magical mist, to basically like wash away the poison, and then, oh no, it did more than that.
It washes away the poison, and then kind of the thing that is a bit hidden that Weevil didn't fully realize is that when he plays the Summoned Skull card, which has an electricity attack, then it strongly improves the attack power of the Summoned Skull with the mist still in the air. And then that is strong enough to finally take down the Great Moth.
Yeah, particularly because the Great Moth is now soaked and wet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Something about the Yugi's delivery here literally just sounds like he's making stuff up. When he's just like, now that your moth is wet, I can summon the Summoned Skull, and he gets a 1,000 attack point bonus because he's attacking a monster that's soaked. It's like, yeah, you're making this stuff up.
Making her waterlogged bug a giant-sized lightning rod. I hope you're in the mood for some fireworks, Weevil.
God, does he really say that?
Yep.
That's wonderful. So yeah, then Yugi attacks and he defeats Weevil, and that's it. He gets his 2-star chips, and then Weevil's out of the tournament.
Funny thing I thought about this part is that for the most part, Weevil's kind of been acting as this really like tough competitor and tough kid, but then at the end here, now that he's lost, he's like starts acting like a kid basically for the first time. Like he's like pouting, like I can't lose, like I'm the regional champion, it's impossible, and he's literally like lying on the ground while Joey's like, you're a loser. I don't know, it's just kind of funny. Like Yugi's like tossing the stars in his face. I thought it was
So yeah, overall, I'd say this is another solid episode. I'd say like episode 4, the previous episode about this duel, was a little stronger just in terms of the presentation and like the pace of everything. But overall, I think that this is still a pretty fun episode.
I would definitely agree. I feel like the first episode does a really good job of kind of setting the stakes, and the duel feels a bit more kind of interesting to me. And then also the fact that it also started off with some plot stuff made the 4th episode a lot stronger. But just comparing the two because they have the same battle. But I still agree. I enjoyed this episode. Definitely worth watching. Got that classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Silly stupidness to it. So definitely another recommend.
I can't point to any moment in this episode that I found as exciting as like the first turn in the last episode, which I really went into in the summation of the episode about how perfect all the technicals of the show were like coming together. This one, I can't think of any great moments, to be honest, that made me go, wow, I love this part of the episode, or I love this part of the anime. But just overall, good episode.
Yeah, I like Weevil as a villain. I like his animations, and solid episode.
Yep. All right, so next
All right.
time we'll see you for episode 6. I think it's called First Duel. Josh, can't wait to see you find out why it's called that.
Interesting.
Because that's certainly not the first duel of the show.
I think if I had a hypothesis, it might be Joey.
Josh, are you looking up spoilers?
No, I'm not. I'm just hypothesizing.
Don't. What is the show taught you? Don't think.
Sorry.
All right, well, we hope you guys had fun.
Yep, thanks for listening.
Yeah, so we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a manga series originally created by manga artist and author Kazuki Takahashi, and originally published in Shonen Jump Magazine. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime was created by Gallop Company Limited, and the English dub primarily discussed in this podcast was produced by 4Kids Entertainment. This podcast is a non-profit media content, and created for entertainment purposes only. All rights of content discussed and music used go to their respective owners. We hope you'll join us next time.